Okay, today I'm going to show you how you can use Selenium Builder with GitHub, Travis and Source Labs to make a continuous integration solution for your website that's all on the internet, nothing stored locally. Basically how this works. You record your tests on Selenium Builder. You use the GitHub integration to store your tests straight on GitHub. Then there's this excellent continuous integration system called Travis, which will automatically run a set of tests whenever you push to GitHub. So you can set up Travis to use source on demand to play back your test scripts. The great thing about that setup is that if you put your site code and your tests into the same GitHub repository, then whenever you update the site code and when you update the test, Travis will rerun your Selenium tests on source on demand, and then send you an email about whether or not they still work. So you can get the full Selenium continuous integration solution by putting together these components. And because they're all components, if you want to use something else in part, for example Jenkins instead of Travis, you can construct your own solution. For now, I'm going to show you this set of 4 things that work really well together. The great thing about this is that you store everything on GitHub, so all of your tests are stored in the cloud, nothing stored locally somewhere. You can hence record and edit and play back tests from any computer that runs Firefox. And all of the actual execution of the testing, the CI, is handled by Travis and Source. So you don't need to build any of your own testing infrastructure. Okay, so how do you actually do this? Well, you need to do a bunch of things. First thing, assuming you already have Builder, is to install the GitHub plugin and probably also the Source Labs one. Then second, you want to record some tests and save them on GitHub somewhere. Third, you configure the test interpreter, which is just a JSON file saying, "Dear interpreter, please run these Selenium tests using this configuration, this server, this browser, this operating system." The nice thing about this is that you can set the tests to be interpreted on a whole bunch of different platforms, so you can do cross-platform testing. Once you've set that up, the final thing to do is that you need to go to Travis and you tell Travis, "Hey look, this is my repo, it's got some tests in, could you please run these tests whenever the repo is pushed to?" And once you've set it up, you can push the Travis configuration and you'll get a nice email from Travis telling you whether or not your tests all worked. And whenever you push again to the repo, it will tell you if something's changed. So going over this in detail, the first thing you need to do is to install the plugins. You go into Selenium Builder, you go into Plugins, and you just click Install on GitHub Integration and Source. Then restart Builder. Next up, you want to record some tests. Let's just say for now we're testing this website. Let's record a verification. Now we're going to save this test. In the file menu, save the test to GitHub. Because this is the first time we're using it, I'm going to have to enter my details. Now as you can see, we can access our repositories, and I've set up this little repo here as an example one. So let's save this test in here as JSON, which is the standard format Builder works in. This means we can later open it again and edit it. Let's do another test. Now we save that one as well. Just record as many tests as you want and put them all into this place. Now we've done that, the next thing we need to do is configure the Selenium interpreter, which is actually a little Node.js program that takes these JSON scripts and uses WebDriver to play them back. Let's clone the repo to disk so we can add the config files we need. Create a new text file. I've just pasted in a bunch of things which are actually reasonably straightforward. The config is a JSON file which contains 2 things: the settings with which you want to run the tests, So in this case, we want to run them on Firefox, and we want to run them on Source Labs infrastructure. You have to tell Source your username, and you have to tell them your access key. But you don't want to commit your Source access key into a GitHub repository. GitHub actually did an article on this recently. It's a very bad idea to put your passwords into a repo. Thanks to the versioning, it's kind of hard to get rid of them again. So don't do that. So instead, we're going to put username and access key into environment variables. Here's a bit of substitution syntax that will substitute them in when we run the interpreter. So as long as we run the interpreter with the source username and source access key environment variables set to the right values, it will work fine. And how we set those variables we'll get to in a moment. That will be in the Travis configuration. Next, we have the tests we actually want to run. This config format supports glob syntax, so you don't have to list each test individually. Just put in the path to the directory with an asterisk at the end, and it will find the tests, and it will ignore anything that's not a JSON file. That's the entirety of the config, so let's save that in our repo. And commit it and push it. Now the next thing we need to do is to tell Travis that we exist and that we would like to use its services. You can log yourself in using your GitHub account. And then you go in here. Okay, now the final step is to configure Travis. We need to tell Travis what running an integration test for this particular project actually means. That's done by putting a file into the top level of the repository, which tells Travis what to do. It's called .travis.yml. So again, I've just pasted in something. As you can see, we just tell Travis to install Selenium Interpreter and then run it with the configuration file we already made. And the one thing we're lacking here is the environment variable for the source access key. Setting variables in Travis is easy if you don't mind them being public, which you probably don't for your source username. Now this is the one tricky bit in the tutorial. You need to encrypt your access key to let Travis know what it is without revealing it to the world. The way to do that is to first install a Ruby gem, the Travis gem. Once that's installed, make sure you're in the top level of the repository you want to encrypt something for and log into Travis. Then you can use this command to encrypt an environment variable. What comes out is a blob of encrypted data, which you can paste into the .travis.yml config file like this. The encrypted data is tied to your Git credentials and this particular repo, so it should be safe from snooping or theft. So your access key should be safe. If it does ever become compromised, you can also generate a new one. That's what I'll be doing in a few minutes. I shouldn't put my current access key into this video either. Now you can save the file, commit it, and push it. And of course, this means Travis now goes, oh, this has been pushed to. Okay, is there a .travis.yml? Yeah, there is. Let's go. So let's actually go into Travis. We can see our test is in the queue right now, and we can look at it. And here you can see it's running the tests. You can see the details of each test being run, but you don't need to know any of the details, because in the end, we get an email. Travis says, Hey, it succeeded, everything's fine. So I'll just show you what happens if you break things. You can edit these JSON scripts with the text editor, which is pretty easy. Let's go in here. And change this verify to something that's not actually the case. Save, commit and push, and Travis runs again. And now we get told that the build is broken. One of our tests failed. Surprise. So let's fix the test up again. Save, commit, push. And shortly after, Travis tells us that we fixed the build. Excellent! That's all really. You can use these 4 components to make a continuous integration system for your site. If you have any questions, drop Adam or me an email. Thank you for listening.